Hello and welcome to another LEGO MOC Showcase video. This is another wrestling belt. The belts are full size. And this is a very unique one that has a bit of a story. So this is the WWF King of the Ring belt. Yep, this was a thing. So in 1995, Mabel won the King of the Ring tournament. Now when a wrestler wins King of the Ring, they have a crown, they have a cape, and they carry the king gimmick, basically for the rest of the year. Or until WWE decides, now you need something different and basically ruins them. Because it's WWE, of course it is. But in 1995, when Mabel won, he personally commissioned a belt. And I will put an image of that on screen now. And it's not a bad looking belt, it must be said. It's nearly 30 years old and it was never seen on TV. Mabel would take it to events and conventions, and there are a few photos out there of Mabel holding this belt. And honestly, it's quite handsome. I really do like this. So when it came to what belt I wanted to make next, I thought, you know what, let's go for this one. So now we're going to look at the main center plate, and straight away you can see some differences from how I've built it compared to the real championship belt itself. So first of all, to call this a championship belt is not technically correct. It's a tournament winning prize, so to say. But this was unique to Mabel in 1995. And again, like I mentioned, it was never seen on TV. It was just a personal prize, and I do dig that still. So on the picture that I showed a moment ago, you could definitely see World Wrestling along the top and Federation along the bottom. Translating that to Lego, and of course that's much more difficult. The blocky nature of Lego bricks means you can only get so much done. And whilst I've been able to get King of the Ring and some of the details for the crown near the bottom half, I've just gone with a simple WWF along the top. Now, of course, this was before the days of WWE, so some purists might like this, some people might not like this, but it's historically accurate. But at the same time, if I wanted to take this to some places and change it to WWE, there's nothing really stopping me from doing that. But what I do love is because it's King of the Ring, the belts have a castle sort of look and feel to them. And that's quite cool in its own way. I mean, I've not seen that for any other championship belts before. Maybe there's an indie wrestling promotion somewhere that has that. As a design, it's really cool. And you can also see on the real thing, there is some brick texturing because, of course, you know, castles have stone walls. So if I bring this a little bit closer, you'll notice that I have used a selection of 1x2 tiles to represent the bricks. Now, I remember ordering 100 on the latest Bricklink order to make sure I got this all filled in. And to be honest, it's nice to have some texturing on something like this. Now, this as a plate is quite bland, but when it comes to that dead space, having some texturing to fill that gap is so good, because there are loads of other championship belts out there that have texturing details in what would otherwise be dead empty space, and that's such a cool thing to see. Opening this back up, we now get to see the side plates. And this is one of those belts that technically only has one side plate on each side, which I'm personally not a fan of, especially how small this belt is compared to my other two. Now this continues the castle theme, of course, with the plate design, but I've had a little bit of, creative freedom, something like that? Creative liberty, I think the phrase is. So because it's King of the Ring, the original detail that would go in the middle of the side plate has been replaced with what is supposed to be a turnbuckle post and the 3 ropes of the wrestling ring. And that connects to how it would be on both sides to the kind of main centerpiece. So it does make sense, and I do think it's a lot easier to kind of make something like this, because again, this is actually quite simple to do. It's just a bunch of straight lines compared to what was previously supposed to be on these side plates. Now, I will mention this now because, you know, why not? On the leather strap, like I've mentioned for the previous 2 belts, I have got the stitching details going along the border, which is basically the top and bottom of the entire strap. And you will see in just a moment the clip strip for the buttons as if you're going to wear this around your waist. Because this is the smallest and technically the lightest of the 3 belts I have made, I was tempted to try and make this wearable around my waist, but it is still heavy, and I kind of chickened out. Now, to save having to hold this awkwardly to open it out a little bit further, straight away I'm just going to turn it around. So we have the clip strips here, and these are 2x5 compared to 2x4 for the other 2 belts that I have made. And the cool thing about this belt, after the main side plates, are a bunch of flags. Now, I think this is something similar to a previous version of the WWE Championship in the 70s, I want to say. It feels familiar. It's not the big green one where there was loads of side plates, but there is. I'm pretty sure there was a former World Championship that had flags on it. But this was quite a cool detail because it fills a lot of space. I feel like if there were more of these castle side plates carrying on, it could definitely work, but I think it would just be a bit too silly otherwise. So for this to be a bit more globally representative, it's actually quite cool. Now I want to try something, and we're going to play a bit of a game. 2 of the flags on my belt have replaced the flags on the original belts. Now I want you to have a look at the original image and have a look at this and tell me which 2 flags have replaced the original ones, because one of them was too difficult to do with Lego and the other one, given current events in the world, just isn't appropriate. So all 3 of my belts have belt straps that are 2 studs thick. So this is basically a big old wall with 2x4 bricks to make up most of the strap. There are plenty of side-studded bricks to hold on the plates themselves, and this is starting to get on my ear. It's a bit weird to hold some of these belts sometimes, but I wanted to hold it this way to showcase how the belt folds. So you can see a couple of notches. There's one there, a couple more further back with where the light is reflecting. So those are swivel hinges, and this is what allows me to hold this over my shoulder. And again, I could put this around my waist if I wanted to, and I could modify it so I could potentially keep it held up around my waist, but it's quite heavy, it's bulky, and a bit fragile. There have been times where I've gone to hold this in just such a position where, you know, I'm having fun posing and all of a sudden, snap. Yeah, I don't want that to happen when that's around my waist, because that could break a lot more and potentially break one of these swivel hinges. If that happens, that's a big problem. Here is a full look at King Mabel's custom commissioned WWF King of the Ring belt. I love this because it's such a cool design and an idea I think could be capitalized on. So imagine this, 2023 King of the Ring. Whoever wins gets the crown and the cape, but at the same time they get the belt. The crown and cape they can keep for a month, but because they were King of the Ring for that year and up until the rest of the year, this is what they carry with them. So they can carry this and they can have a second championship if they win one, like a mid-card or a tag team title, even the, well, maybe not the world title because Roman Reigns. Then again, there is a second world championship, so you know, that is a thing that could be possible. But it's a way of having a wrestler being a champion in its own form, celebrating King of the Ring in a bit more style. I do love that this was a thing that existed. Even if it wasn't on TV, it's such a cool design. So that is the end of this mock showcase video. Thank you all ever so much for watching. So this is my 3rd belt, and I actually think I'm done this time making belts because it's a bit tedious to have to make these. So many 2x4 bricks were purchased basically way in advance, never knowing what I would use them for, and I've gone through almost all of them in order to make these 3 belts. I'm also quite fed up of having to make bricklink quarters for more yellow tiles, and whilst I've got a good healthy stock now, by the time I get started on my 4th belt, probably inevitably, let's be honest, I'm going to have to make another order, and it's just a pain in the ass to have to do. In the description you can find links to my Flickr and Instagram pages if you want to see some sneak peeks of behind the scenes action. Also links down below is my 2nd channel where you can find some more Luke Triton action outside of the Lego Train and Nerf hobbies. You can also find a link to my Discord server where you can chat with like-minded fans of Lego Trains and Nerf blasters. Thank you everyone so much for watching. I am World Champion, and now King of the Ring. Thanks for watching everyone. I'll see you in the next episode.